Started off by saying something.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You know, as I told you before dinner, when I was little, people used to visit our family in Tiptonville, and we had two visitors. You were one, and John Alexander was another, that really liked Tiptonville.
Yes.
Just loved Tiptonville.
Loved Tiptonville.
Why?
It was a place that held positive feelings.
You can talk to the camera too if you want to.
It was a wonderful place full of wonderful people that I really loved. And I did things there that I didn't do at home. And I felt cared for, and it was a fun place to go.
Well, now, like, what things did you do in Tiptonville that you particularly liked?
Oh, I went to the washout and swam.
Now, what was the washout?
Well, I'll tell you my 10-year-old version of the washout. I'm not really sure what the washout is, but it was a warm pool of water that was, it was a big pond, but maybe bigger than a pond. But what I saw of it, and it had a beach that was just a great kid-sized beach. And all my friends went there, and there were springs that fed into it. And because it was so warm, you could swim along, and then all of a sudden you'd hit a cold spring. And I never had that ever happen. And the bottom was sandy, and it made your feet feel good. And you didn't worry about rocks or pollution or gum wrappers floating on top. It was just perfect.
In
the washout.
Late 1940s, early 1950s.
Actually, I was 6 in 1950, so it probably was between 50 and 60.
50 and 60, okay. You say you met a lot of people there. They had people there that you loved. Who did you visit there?
I remember, is it Joy Butler? Okay, and Frederica, and I can't remember her last name, and there was another girl, and she was a good friend of Melita's, her daughter. But at any rate, I met a whole group of girls.
Miss Tenney's daughter?
Yes.
Miss Tenney?
Yes, but Sullivan. Pat
Sullivan.
Okay,
Pat Sullivan.
Pat Sullivan.
And that's Miss Tenney and Miss Sullivan were sisters, of course.
Okay,
They both had been Tiptons before they were married. It was Miss Tenney Butler and Miss Sullivan, Miss Ivan Sullivan. And Pat Sullivan was one of your friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And whose house did you stay at when you visited?
When I came to visit, I usually stayed with Gwen and Melita.
On Cedar Street?
On Cedar Street, exactly. Early on, I stayed with my grandmother, but that was when I was very little.
That was Mammy?
That was Mammy. And I remember one summer, my mother went to Europe, and she left for 2 to 3 weeks, and she took me down to Tennessee, and I stayed with my grandmother for that period of time. And my grandmother enrolled me in a kindergarten class while I was down there. And it was wonderful. And I had a birthday down there, and it was the most fabulous birthday. She had all kinds of wonderful things in the backyard, and someone made me clay doll furniture all out of beautiful matchsticks. It was just amazing. I don't know whatever happened. I wish I still had them, but it was just fantastic. And I remember when I graduated.
What room did you stay at in her house? What did you?
I stayed up on the second floor, and it was very hot. Of course, it was Tennessee in the summer. It was during July, and I remember my grandmother realized how hot I was, and she would rub my legs with alcohol, like.
An alcohol rub.
An alcohol rub, and that had never, ever happened. And there was no air conditioning. And she had the fans going, and I think she had pans of water, you know, with the fans. Yeah.
That's funny.
It was, and I remember when Rose came in the morning and started breakfast, and the amazing breakfast in the morning.
What did you eat? What did you eat?
I remember the scrambled eggs and fried toast.
Fried toast.
Oh, do you remember fried toast?
Oh, fried toast.
Like, who does fried toast, right? It was just to die for. And Rose did, and biscuits, homemade biscuits, Rose's biscuits.
Well, now that was toast that you put butter, lots of butter, in a frying pan on the stove and put the toast in it, flipped it over. So
that's how she made grilled cheese sandwiches too. I remember grilled cheese sandwiches.
Do you remember those?
Oh my gosh, delicious.
And they're probably
like
terrible for you?
Well, delicious.
But they tasted amazing.
They did. And did you ever have the country ham? They had country hams in the basement. No,
I
her
didn't
country
eat
ham was famous.
Oh.
Yeah, he talks about them, and I remember eating them.
well, if I were going to remember my favorite meal of all time, it would be Mammy's country ham, baked country ham, and peach pickles, and homemade potato salad. And that was something out of this world. Country ham.
Homemade biscuits too.
Well, I don't remember the biscuit so much in that, but the country ham was, you know, it'd be 3/4 of an inch thick the way it was sliced. And you could cut it with a fork. It just kind of almost flaky.
Amazing.
And if it were a day old or so, it would begin to develop white spots in the ham when it really got good. And that was fabulous.
Okay.
I had forgotten about the peach pickles. They were fantastic with the cloves.
Yes.
They were amazing. I forgot
The
about
peach
those.
pickles were incredible.
Yes, they were.
And what for dessert? Do you remember dessert?
Didn't have dessert
I don't remember.
that I remember.
Yeah.
And then what about graduation? You said you had a graduation party?
Oh, it wasn't a party. That was just a certificate that I graduated from kindergarten that summer, and I still have it. I found it the other day.
Where did you go to the kindergarten class?
It was just down the street. There must have been other children my age.
There was a school down the street, right? That
No,
elementary
I
school?
think that might have been a class that Tanny Burnett conducted for small children. Tanny was the older sister of a friend of Bill Lindemuth, Davy B. Burnett. They lived right across the street from us, and every summer she'd run I forget what she called it. It was anyway,
A nursery school, probably. They call
well,
it nursery.
it was like it wasn't called school or it wasn't called nursery. It was called playground or something like that. I just wonder if that's what you're talking about.
If I find it, I'll take a picture and I'll send it over to you.
But I remember that too about Tiptonville. The children were so nice.
Oh, yes.
Really fun.
So friendly, and
So
there were
friendly.
things to do.
And
It
you
was
felt
fun.
so important.
Yeah. Oh, I guess. Maybe that's part of it.
Remember Uncle Harry owned the beach probably
Yes.
that you were at, the Magnolia Beach at the washout. So we got to play putt-putt for free and do all that stuff. That was fun.
That was fun.
Well, did you go to his beach, or when you were little? Did you go to Sunkissed?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. Sunkissed was first, is that right?
Yeah, Sunkissed was first, and Dad and Uncle Harry had a falling out before you were born.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't get back together until really into the 50s. when Uncle Harry came back from Culver Military Academy, where he was on the faculty, and started this beach called Magnolia Beach. Remember that?
I knew it happened. I didn't know how. I was too little. I was still about 10 years old. I remember their pecan opening device, where a sheller in the backyard. They had
the cellar, yeah.
It was something that shelled pecans, and they had. Do you remember that? And they had. It was almost like a conveyor belt, but they had someone sitting there, and it was a way of from all the pecans, and then they opened the shells. It was a mechanical. No.
I remember nothing like that.
Ooh, maybe I dreamed this up. I thought I remembered.
It sounds logical.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that.
It sounded okay.